Welcome to the Strange Files, where reflection becomes emergence, taking ordinary things and spiraling them into life principles, metaphors, and new perspectives on possibility, seeing life from new angles. Have you ever looked at an ordinary object and thought, that can teach me something? Such as, a whisk can become a reflection on connection. A train track can become a way of understanding progressive recurrence. Even your housework can reveal something about maintenance, rhythm, and life. This podcast is a place for spiraling life principles through ordinary things and for exploring the reflections, patterns, and perceptions that shape how we move through life. It's an exploration about noticing and about what becomes possible when we see from new angles. I often use ordinary things as metaphors because everyday life can carry more meaning than we first notice. It's less about giving answers and more about opening exploration from a different lens. It's not overthinking. It's evolving thought that can provoke new perspectives. Awareness can refine expression. So hold on to your seats. This ride could get a little weird. I'm Lisa. Welcome to the Strange Files. Rinse and repeat. So what's the difference between routine and unconscious repetition? We say rinse and repeat so casually, as if that phrase hasn't quietly become the emotional operating system for half the planet. Because the more I thought about this, the more I realized how much of human life is built on repetition. Wake up, work, scroll, overthink, emotionally process something at 2 a.m. Tell yourself you're going to sort your life out tomorrow, and repeat. Some repetition is actually quite healthy. Routines can regulate us, they can ground us, create stability, and even help the nervous system feel safe. We actually do need certain rhythms, certain familiar anchor points, certain things that help life flow more smoothly. But the strange thing is, there is a difference between supportive repetition and unconscious looping. Because at some point, we stop evolving through the routines and we start disappearing into them instead. And I think a lot of us don't even notice when that shift happens because familiarity can feel very, very convincing, even when it's no longer healthy. Which explains why a lot of us will emotionally replay the same cycle 74 times and still act surprised when the ending stays the same. The same relationship dynamics, the same self-sabotage, the same emotional avoidance, the same overthinking, the same coping mechanisms. Different day, different outfit, same psychological washing machine. And there is a lot of us that really will stand there watching the washing machine spin round and round like we've accidentally entered a hypnotic portal into another dimension. Just staring into the void like, yes, this is somehow my evening now. And weirdly, that's kind of what unconscious cycles feel like too. Round and round, different day, same patterns. Because eventually, nothing changes if you never step away from the machine. And oddly, the phrase itself is interesting because rinse and repeat originally comes from washing things, cleaning, refreshing, starting again. But we do something strange sometimes. We try to emotionally cleanse ourselves while continuously throwing ourselves back into the exact same muddy environments afterwards, which makes emotional growth significantly harder. Because eventually you have to ask yourself, am I consciously revisiting this or unconsciously looping inside it? And that's a very uncomfortable question sometimes, because not every repeated cycle means growth. Sometimes It simply means familiarity. And we will stay inside familiar discomfort for years simply because the nervous system recognizes the pattern. Even when the pattern itself is exhausting, even when it's limiting, even when it stopped serving us a long, long time ago. Because familiarity can masquerade as safety, which honestly explains a lot about humanity in general. But I also don't think the answer is never repeating anything, because repetition itself isn't the problem. Life naturally contains cycles: breathing, sleeping, healing, learning, practicing, returning, revisiting. Even rivers repeat patterns, waves repeat patterns, seasons repeat patterns. The difference here is nature evolves through repetition, and maybe we are supposed to as well. Not rinse and repeat, but rinse and evolve. Because maybe the goal was never to avoid repetition completely. And maybe the real reflection is actually becoming aware of what we keep returning to, what keeps returning to us, and whether the version of ourselves moving through the cycle is actually changing too. Because if awareness is growing, then maybe it's not truly repetition anymore. Maybe it's actually evolution moving through familiar territory. And I think that's one of the strangest things about us as humans. We keep expecting growth to look dramatic, when sometimes growth simply looks like returning to the same situation and responding differently this time. Which might actually be the real difference between living in the cycles and learning from them. I'll pick this up again soon, and I will see you there.